everyone, and welcome to our very exciting live stream. Look, we have a very special little guest. This is where we're going to be talking about the AKC Scent Work Club's Passion and Realities with Jennifer Hamilton. Very exciting stuff. Jennifer is an AKC Scent Work Judge, as well as an AKC Scent Work Trial Person, and the founder of, I've already forgotten how to say it, Sonoran?
Yes.
Scent Work Club? Yay! Yay!
You can officially come to Arizona now.
Perfect. And I won't be met with pitchforks and fire.
No, not at all.
So we are delighted to be hosting Jennifer for this live stream today. We're going to dive in a little bit over the next hour, talking about some of the realities that she has encountered as someone who does these things. Because many of us participate in trials, but we may not actually know what goes on, behind the scenes to make them happen.
Yes.
So I wanted to start off really quickly. If you could just let us know a little bit about your journey in scent work, maybe what got you involved, just so people have a little bit of a better understanding about yourself.
Sure, absolutely. I started scent work with a different club here in Southern Arizona, the German Shepherd Dog Club of Southern Arizona. That's a tongue twister. They saw that AKC was offering scent work as a new sport, and they were interested in offering it. So they decided to kind of put out that flyer that says, "Hey, anybody interested?" And I said, me go. I'm down. Let's do it. And so they hosted. I was the trial chairperson. I fell in love with it. Actually took my dog, my novice everything dog, my all-American dog, up to a trial up in Phoenix, and absolutely fell in love with the sport. And I had no idea what I didn't know. There's so much to understand, so much to know. And absolutely fell in love with it, dove headfirst into getting more knowledge, learning more, making myself a better handler, making myself better for the club, just everything that I could possibly do. And then that club folded only after having 2 very small trials. And so I was like, well, I want a trial in my own backyard. I don't want to not do this. So that's why I started Sonoran Desert Scent Work Club. Me and a few other people. It wasn't just me.
That's amazing. I mean, the initiative it takes to be like, well, I still want to do this. So I know I'm going to start up my own club is definitely not something that people just, they think of on the top of their heads. It's like, I'm just going to do this thing.
Yeah, no, it was a whole process. You have to get together, and you have to have minutes of meetings, and you have to have a record of people that are involved with scent work, even if it's not AKC right away, that's okay. So you have to get all of these people on board all at the same time, and then to become an AKC club, that in and of itself is interesting. A lot of work behind that. You got to have the bylaws. If you don't have anybody that knows how to do bylaws, I can tell you that was a very interesting process. But luckily, I had a very good person. She's on my board of directors now, and she's very involved with AKC for years and years and years. So Joe helped us out quite a bit to get our bylaws in order. And then COVID happened. So then it was even more of a challenge to keep the club kind of going and figuring out when we were even going to be able to have our first trial. But we did. And here we are 35 plus trials later.
Wow, that is a ton. Yep. So do you primarily focus on trials, or do you also do other types of events as well?
I don't. The club hosts seminars, right. So we bring in other people. We have brought in Fred Helfers, Julie Rikus, Deanna Butler, Carolyn Oldham. Judith joined Deanna. She was actually driving through Tucson on the weekend that we had Deanna Butler in town. She's like, "Hey, I need a place to crash. Are you available?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And guess what? You're going to be put to work. So Judith ended up, kind of being a substitute teacher a little bit during that seminar. And I know I'm forgetting somebody, but we try and provide the education to the people in Tucson. And we have not had like matches, but we will have different groups of people in the club themselves. They train together and practice together, that sort of thing. So we try and foster those relationships among the club as well. And then trying to think of what else. I tried to do like some fun ideas of just like games and stuff like that we could do, but the time in Arizona that you can actually do stuff with your dogs is this very itty bitty tiny little window of time, and either you're doing something and you're missing out on another trial somewhere else in the state, or
Hmm.
you just decide not to do it. So we kind of try and play nice in the sandbox together.
Perfect.
There's limited weekends.
Yes, exactly. Because, that whole weather thing where the pavement is melting.
Oh yes, fry an egg. You can literally fry an egg on your dashboard in the car.
So, when you formed the club, when you were thinking of, I really would like to have some more trialing opportunities in my own backyard, did it turn into what you had hoped? Is it something more? Is it something less? How did it all basically come to be that you're like, here, I have this club, or doing these things? Is it actually gone the way that you had hoped?
It actually has. I am I think we, as a club, I think we decided, my friend Beverly, that was the trial secretary, she and I worked very well together, and I think we decided that we were learning this all from scratch. We didn't have anybody teaching us how to do this. We didn't have any mentors. Um, we were blind going into this. So we just picked up the AKC rule book and we just read and we read and we read, and we decided very early on that we were going to start small and then get bigger with more experience, with the ability to train more volunteers, with the ability to find better and bigger venues, all of the thing that goes into building the club. We started with a membership of like 16 people, if I remember correctly, and now we have upwards of 50 people in the club. And
Wow.
Tucson is like it's a small big town. A lot of dog events that are happening in Tucson, and scent work seems to be something that people want to try. There are, few people that are like diehard, want to do scent work, eat, breathe, sleep scent work. And then there's people that are like, oh, I want to do barn hunt, I want to do lure coursing, and I want to do confirmation, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, rally and obedience. And they do everything. And then they come and get their novice titles on their dogs at my trials. That's fine too. I
Yes.
don't mind, but that seems to be the Tucson mentality, is kind of the jack of all trades kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a
Mm-hmm.
few of us that are diehard scent work, that we eat, breathe, sleep the whole bit. So we started smaller, on the smaller side, offering only like a novice advanced trial to begin with. I think it wasn't until our third trial that we offered excellent, and it wasn't until our fourth or fifth trial that we even added master. And then probably not even until our second year in did we even offer detective. So we
And
just kind of built it smaller.
And I think that's a really smart way of doing it so that you're able to wrap your hands around this beast that is putting on a scent work trial.
Yeah.
So you
Yes,
can actually make
absolutely.
sure that it's successful. So for people who are hearing this, like, I had no idea this was even a thing. I want this trial in my backyard too.
Yeah. Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about, if people were maybe interested in starting up their own club, how doable is it? What are your
Oh,
days like when you are doing club things?
totally doable. You just need to find like three or four like-minded people and then a bunch of others to sign a paper. But so you basically, I can't remember the number that AKC requires to actually be paying members of the club to be considered a club. But realistically, that first part is, if you can find 10, 15, 20 people that live in the general area. I do have members that are as far north as Phoenix, but AKC requires a certain number of people to be in your geographic region. So then you also have to define your geographic region. Like, there's my club that is Sonoran Desert Scent Work Club, and our boundary is Casa Grande, which is the city that is just south of Phoenix, all the way down through southern Arizona. So a very big geographic region. There's also a scent work club up in Phoenix, Copper State Scent Work Club of Maricopa County. So that defines their region. They're in the greater Phoenix area. big, big area. So once you can define that region, get members from that region, fill out the paperwork, you basically need to prove to AKC that you're very serious about this. You have to have somebody in the club that represents the ability to kind of talk and know a little bit about scent work. Like you gotta have some knowledge about it. But once that gets going, then really, if you are okay with learning on your own, reading the rule book, you can do this from scratch. I did. You totally can do it. I didn't even know what NACSW was when I started this club. Okay. I didn't realize that, I knew there was something else out there that created this whole nose work thing, but I had no idea how this whole thing worked. And you can make it work. Getting ready for trials, that's a whole other beast and something, that's a whole other amount of planning. But the actual creation of the club is not that hard at all.
That's amazing. So I think that's an important thing for people to keep in mind. I think that we forget a lot that these are just regular people that are going out. Just the fact that hosting a trial, like you were an event planner, essentially, like you didn't go to school for it maybe, and you're just like, okay, we're just going to put on this massive event where there's tons of people and dogs and all these moving pieces and chaos. And it happens like several places all over the country every single weekend. That's incredible. So I love the fact, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, is the fact that you founded this club. It's important for people to remember it's completely doable. And if they do have an area where maybe it's a little dry, where maybe there's not a lot of activity near them and they're constantly traveling, but there's a lot of demand in their area, that could be something for them to think about.
Yeah. And you don't have to make it big. You don't have to be the club that offers every element for a 3-day trial. You could be the club that offers what you and your members need. If you guys just need novice, then just offer a novice trial and work your way up to it. And when you get to the point where you have people on your wait list, or you get to the point where, you're getting up in the levels yourselves, then start offering something bigger. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a 5-judge 2-day trial offering all of the elements the first time out. Right. I would highly suggest not doing that.
Yes. Let's try not biting off more you want to choose. You're like, I never want to do this ever again.
Yes.
So I think it is a lot. And I think that leads into this next little bit of what has surprised you as far as running the club. So being involved in the club. When you first were starting, again, you're like, I just want to have some more trial opportunities near me. This other opportunity kind of went away, and I want to take this on. Since that happened, is there anything that has surprised you during that journey?
I have notes. Number one, venues. Venues are very, very, very hard to find. And, we have club meetings once a quarter. We have board of directors meetings once a month. And I always say, if you guys have any ideas of where we can have a trial, let me know. I'll go out there and take a look for it. And I cannot even tell you, I partner with an NACSW trial host here in Tucson, Barbara Nagy, and she's fantastic. She offers or tries to offer 3 to 4 trials a year. I try to offer 3 or 4 trials a year, but we don't want to step on each other's toes either. So we both know that if we get a lead on something, I'm going to let Jenny know, because maybe this would work for AKC because it really doesn't work for NACSW, or vice versa. So venues are, you can call somebody up and I usually go, do you like dogs? I mean, like, who doesn't like dogs? And then I'm like, how about 75 dogs? Right. And it's a little difficult. I think a lot of even my club members, after being here in Tucson doing this for 5 years, even my club members, I don't think they understand how many places that we are contacting every year, trying to find new and different places. And if I had $1 for every time somebody said, "Oh, could you just not do it in a school? Why is it always got to be a school?" Well, schools are open open during Monday through Friday. and you guys want to have weekends on this, weekend trials. So we kind of have to use schools. We do have the opportunity here in Southern Arizona to have some, different types of venues. Barbara uses the movie set, the Old West Town. I use Mount Lemon. Mount Lemon is way up in the Catalina Mountains, so I rent out an entire Boy Scout camp for the weekend, and
Very
it's
nice.
different. It's not the same type of school searches. So, you just have to make those community outreach kind of things. I was able to get in touch with a dude ranch that's right around the corner from my house. Does not work for AKC. It just doesn't offer the interior space that we need. But Barbara's going to use it in January or February. She'll kill me if I can't remember when the trial is. But anyway, so she's going to use the dude ranch. But that's kind of, I know people want different venues, but please trust me when I say that we try to find something different than schools. And it just has to be the absolute right person that you talk to at a location that's like, oh, I trust you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're
Just
going to
don't.
come in and not wreck the place.
And yeah, we're not going to leave the place completely wrecked with, dog urine everywhere. So.
Right. So I think that's a really good thing for us to touch on really quickly. So because this is a very common thread, doesn't matter the organization of the venue. Oh, I really wish you guys would find more places for us to trial. So what are some of the things that maybe we as the dog owning community, competitors, or just having dogs, what can we do, if anything, to ensure that people who own these properties are actually more open to having you come in and actually host an event there? What can we
Sure.
do to help?
I think just being respectful of the property when you're there, and if you see litter on the ground in the parking lot, I mean, I know this sounds really silly, but even if it's not something that you created or anybody at the trial created, pick it up. Like, leave the place better than we found it, kind of a thing. As a competitor, I think making sure that before you let your dog out of the car to go potty, because we all know that we drove 2 hours to get there. I get it. Everybody always checks in. The first question is, where's the human bathrooms? Where's the dog bathroom? Please ask those questions, and don't go wandering into places that you shouldn't go. And please just make sure that your dog's not pottying on stuff that's man-made. That's kind of our rule. I think a lot of people have that rule. There are some locations that really only want us to pee in a very small 8x8 foot gravel patch. Well, we have to respect it and just do it. I have up at Mount Lemon, their road is very bad up there. The camp was built in the 1930s. Their culverts and their roads up there are very fragile. So they really don't want a lot of traffic on their roads to get down to where we do the searches. So I don't allow crating close to the search area. I try and limit the traffic down there. And competitors sometimes don't understand why they can't drive down to the bottom of the hill. And I just can't explain it over and over. So just when the rule's out there, just respect it. Just know that there's a real reason that we're giving you those rules.
And would it be helpful for people entering into trials to, when they're looking over a premium, to look for those types of really specific pieces of information to see whether or not you can enter into that trial? Because maybe you're saying, okay, my knees and my back, I gotta be right there. So maybe that's a trial you don't enter into.
Mount Lemon would not be it. Yes, I do try, and there's a blanket statement that it comes in most premiums. And a lot of clubs do copy and paste that direct out of the AKC. If you have problems walking up and down stairs or long distances or something, it's a blanket phase that I see a lot of the clubs just copying and pasting that verbiage. I think a lot of clubs could do better to communicate if they just updated that a little bit for each individual venue, each individual trial that we're having. Just take the 10 or 15 seconds to change a couple of those sentences to just really make people understand. The search areas are going to be about, 200-yard walk from the crating area. We are not going to have indoor crating. We are going to have outdoor crating. Just update it and provide that information, front load people that information. And then competitors, you have to read it.
Right. You mean it doesn't just happen by osmosis?
No, please read your premiums. Please read your judging programs. Please read them, reread them, read them the morning of the trial. Read them. Please read them. It takes me probably about 4 hours to put together a premium for each trial. And then I send it to 5 or 6 other people to reread it and make sure that I haven't lost my mind and that it sounds right. And then I put it away for a day and I go back and I read it with a fresh set of eyes. So a lot of thought and time goes into those premiums, and we don't just send it to you just because,
Right.
I only need the last 2 pages. That's where my waiver and my entry fee is, or my entry form is. There's really good information in there.
Right. And I think that's a really important thing for people to keep in mind, because I think a lot of us do assume like, oh, let's just copy and paste everything. They just do this because AKC tells them they have to, but all I need is those last 2 pages. And actually, no, that's a really important thing for us to
Yes.
keep in mind. You are spending hours of your time in order to make certain that that premium actually makes sense.
Yes.
And there's important information in there. So we should all be good little scouts, and we should all read our premiums.
Please.
So as far as actually hosting a scent work trial, can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think a lot of us, particularly when we're talking about AKC, because it has been exploding in popularity, many people are just competing. They've only been on that side of the basically the curtain. So they don't really have an appreciation for how this all comes to be. So can you enlighten us as far as what that actually is?
So do you want to know what goes in before a trial, or trial day?
If you could do both, that'd be great.
Okay. All right. So before trial day, obviously you have to find a venue, and the venue visit. I usually try and go to the venue, and I take a really quick look at first and just kind of I take my tape measure, and I'm looking for, the amount of space that we need for AKC. If we don't want to reuse rooms, which technically AKC we can, in a trial weekend, you can have up to 7 interior hides in the same room. That doesn't count buried or container, but 7 interior detective hides in one room. I don't want to reuse space. I know as a competitor, I don't like reusing space. I don't want to see blue painter's tape everywhere. So if you are thinking about your venue, you need to look and see, A, is this venue available the weekend I want it? B, does it allow me to spread out where I'm not reusing space? And then me as a judge, I like the search areas to be on the bigger side. Can you do advanced novice in a 100 square foot closet, bathroom? It wouldn't be a scent work trial if you didn't search a bathroom. I love saying that. But do you really want to search 100 square feet? I mean, it's so small, and there's there's just not a lot of options in 100 square feet. So look at all of those, variables, and find out, number one, is it going to let you spread out a little bit, even if you are doing a small trial? You don't want to do a small trial and offer interior, and you have to all of a sudden bring containers inside because it's raining, and now you're using the same one community library conference room, and you're having to do more stuff inside. So think about the worst case scenario. What happens when it starts raining and you have buried in containers slotted for being outside? So once you find the venue, then I usually start talking to the people that I've made contact with and asking them, what is the cost? Is it going to be reasonable cost? I take pictures, I go back, and then I sit down and I review my pictures at home, and I think about, could this work? If the space is only available for novice, or, if the space doesn't really support doing detective or support doing all 5 judges, whatever. Can I afford the space with just the entries? Because if you're just going to do novice and you just have 1 judge, the maximum number of entries you can have is 125. So quick math, these are the thought processes that go around in my head. So 125 entries times 25, that's $3,000. So if you are going to rent, I'm going to rent a judge. If you're going to rent a venue and hire a judge, I can tell you that most of the time your venues are going to run you anywhere from $500 up to $3,000 for a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That's the going rate. So if you can only have the space for one interior novice search, you're only looking at bringing in $3,000, and your judge is going to run you anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 just for your judge. So is it going to be financially possible? That's something really important. And I think some of the pitfalls that some clubs fall into is like, oh, well, God, the space doesn't really work for just keeping it small because the venue is small. Well, I'll just hire a second judge and open up the entries and offer 250 entries. And then the judges are on top of each other. The flow, the dogs are really close, and, there's only one doorway to get back to the search areas. So you gotta think about that bigger picture. Hopefully I'm not completely talking out.
No, this is
Making no
perfect.
sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I think it's
Okay.
an important thing for people to keep in mind, because again, particularly for everyone who's just a competitor, we're just thinking of, I show up on trial day, I do the searches with my dog, and then I go home and hopefully that's with ribbons. And there are absolutely so much that goes into it. I'm geeking out. I love all the stuff that you're talking about because it's important for us to remember, because it can also give us better appreciation. Like when you are submitting those entry fees, you're like, I really want to make sure that this is worth it. It is. It's not.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So when did you buy your fourth Rolls Royce because of all the trials that you have been putting on? She says sarcastically,
Yep.
This just isn't that kind of thing. So I think that getting to these details is really important.
Yep. It does all go back into the club, and so once we have the venue, then I can kind of figure out how many entries I can really support, how many judges I can support. And just because you can doesn't mean you should. Everyone say it with me. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can offer every single element and every single level doesn't mean that you really should. So think about what your focus is going to be, what your region really needs. Think about the level of people. If you're that brand new club that doesn't really have the club in their backyard, you're just now starting out, think about just offering novice or maybe HD. Not a lot of clubs offer HD. Think about bringing something to the table that will draw people in. Right now, Arizona is very master and detective heavy. So if I don't offer master and detective, I hear about it. Trust me. But does my venue support it? I really, truly believe that the Mount Lemon trial that I just did this weekend, I don't think I should offer detective. I didn't the year before because it just, the venue is just so hard to work with. It's so spread out. But I had some feedback from some club members. They were like, "Oh, we really want detectives," and so I offered it this year, and I'm regretting it. So when you know that you're going to offer the stuff, and if you don't have a really good place to do buried, you got to think about buried. You got to think about where can you put it if it's raining, because it has to be covered. That's in the rules. So you want to make sure that you have access to water. Did you look at this venue? Did you find a place that is easy to drive to with all of your buried containers, that you can easily drop off your containers for buried? Because I know they made changes. I get that. It started today. Congratulations to anybody having a trial this weekend and not having to cart all that sand around. But it still is, quite a bit of work. So think about, where you're going to put stuff, what you're going to offer. If it doesn't support it, then don't offer it. It's not a bad thing to not offer something.
I think it's
Yeah, go ahead.
important for the competitors to hear that as well, is that your focus, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, is that
Yeah.
you want to make certain that their experience is a good one. So like what you're talking about with the detective trial is, like, oh, we really want detective. It's like, but if the venue doesn't really support it the way that I would like, your experience is not going to be as optimal. And the amount of work and time and effort that you all are putting in to make sure that these trials are an optimal experience doesn't mean you're guaranteed a queue, but it means that you have the experience of trialing and you're like, that was fun, even if I
Yeah.
didn't qualify and I want to come
Yes.
back. But if it's a
Yes.
bad match, that's not going to be what happens. Instead,
Yep.
everyone's going to remember, could you believe that they didn't even have porta potties? Like
Yeah.
whatever the
Yeah.
case may be.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Those are all things that you have to think about. Potties. Where I have a venue that I use a school. It's a Greenfields country day school, and it is a private school. And Barbara gifted that to me because she goes, I can't get to the bathrooms and offer the huge elite searches. Because it's all in line of sight. It's a line of sight issue. But for
Right.
AKC, I can make it work, right? But where are your bathrooms? Where are people going to be going in and out? Where are dogs going to be
Mhm.
going in and out? Where are they coming back from? These are all things that you have to think about. So once you have your venue figured out, once you know how many entries you can support, you know that it's going to be economically, you know, stable. Then you got to find judges. And, you know, I'm a judge too, and I get it. I understand. You know, you got to find judges that want to work with other people. You got to find judges that, you know, I had a long talk with Hallie McMullen when I was a provisional judge, and you know, she knew that I hosted trials down in Tucson. And she says, well, how do you hire judges? And I said, well, I usually ask the competitors who they like, you know. And she was wrong. Ask a judge. Ask a judge, because the judges are the ones that are working with each other and not stepping on each other and being helpful to each other. And you know that sort of thing. So if you're struggling finding judges, ask the judge that just that you just hired. Ask, the judge that you just trialed under, do you have any recommendations? If you're not available, you can do that. The first time I hired judges, I literally opened up the AKC Scent Work, the the judges. I still remember this. Poor Steve DeTata. He was the first person because his name comes up at like the beginning when you're like looking at Southern
Mhm.
California. And I was like, well, he could get here cheaply because I was just
Right.
going to offer a novice trial. And I'm thinking, okay, well, he's in LA. I could probably afford a plane ticket from LA to Tucson on Southwest cheap. His name came up first, and I got him on the phone. He's like, you haven't done this before, have you? And I'm like, no. But he actually was not available to help me, but he was very good. So, sometimes you throw a dart at the dartboard and you get a winner. Like, I decided I was going to, instead of going west to California, those judges are always busy out there. You guys have a
Mhm.
lot of trials out there, let me tell you. I was like, well, I'm gonna go east. And I pulled up Texas, and I just made a phone call. And the first phone call I made was to Carolyn Oldham.
Mhm.
And that changed my world. Changed
Yeah.
my world. I love that woman. But she told me a couple other people, Michelle Munson and Charlene Dunn, and the three of them came out to Tucson, and they were there for my AKC mentored,
Aw.
where we had to have the rep come out there it was, like, can you be sanctioned as
Right.
a scent work club event? And so I was a
Mhm.
nervous wreck, but
Yes.
Carolyn and Michelle were like, don't worry about it. We got you. Judith Powell isn't all that scary. I'm like, are you sure? Have you talked to her? So, yeah, if you don't know how to hire a judge, just open up the judges directory and have a conversation. And honestly, in the first 5 minutes of a conversation, you're gonna have that gut feel if this is somebody that you want to help represent your club. And
Right.
remember, Powell did tell me, and I think this is really important, they are a contracted employee.
Yes.
They are not the boss. It is
Right.
your club. It is your trial. And so you need to make sure that you have that contract and that they understand what your goals and guidelines are, boundaries and limitations, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, so got to hire judges, got to make sure that you have money in the bank to pay for their hotels and their planes and their rental cars, and no, they do not want to sleep in the same room with each other, so you got to have more
Right.
than one hotel room. um, yeah, and then once you get all that, then it kind of slows down a little bit because you fill out your event applications, and those are all done 18 weeks in advance of your closing date. Not 18 weeks of your trial, 18 weeks of your closing date. So it's about 4.5 months before the actual trial. So then you kind of have a breather, and then maybe about 6 weeks before the trial, then you go out and you make sure you have all your ribbons and you do your ribbon order, or you delegate somebody to do your ribbon order. Make sure you have pretty ribbons.
Yes.
That's a thing right now. Um, and then, there are ways to make the ribbons kind of like our club. We only have two different types of ribbons. We have the element ribbon and we have the rosettes, a rosette for a new title element. And we have a really big, large rosette that we have for the level titles. But you can get the tabs on them if
Yes.
you've never seen those. So you can put a tab that says elite on it. And wow, look, elite.
Right.
So there are ways to kind of cut corners and cut costs like that. If you're worried about offering really big rosettes, you don't have to get a rosette for every level. You don't have to have it, hot stamped with every level. Just get the tabs. They're very cheap. So ribbon order, then you got to get somebody to do hospitality because, judges and volunteers like to eat.
Those bastards.
Yes, I know. How can they want to? I mean, I don't know. I can work through a crashing blood sugar,
There
but
you
not
go.
really, right? No. So hospitality, I feel like, hold on, I'm talking too much. I feel like I was trained by a couple of people that hosted rally and obedience trials, and they taught me that they felt like hospitality was the most important part of your day trial. And I really took that to heart. I'm Italian. I love cooking big meals for big people. I've done Thanksgiving for 30 people before. I love hosting a scent work trial. I absolutely love it. It just feeds into my Italian nature. Let me tell you. And me relinquishing the hospitality part of it was very difficult. It's very difficult for me to relinquish that. But it is very important because the feel of the trial right from check-in, it's that first impression, So if you can afford it and if you have space that you can make this happen, I highly suggest you get a really good group of people that like to make, pasta salads, sweetbreads, cookies, all of the things. And you have coffee in the morning with some pastries, and you offer lunch that's really good to your volunteers. And for the morning stuff, give people coffee. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to break the bank. But let me tell you, if I'm driving to a place, like I drive out to California and I'm like, I don't know where I am. I'm somewhere in San Diego, but I don't know where I am. And I don't know if it's safe to stop at that Quick Trip. So I'm going to keep on going, but I really would like to have a coffee. If you have coffee at your trial, oh my gosh, you've just made a best friend out of me and probably a couple 100,000 people besides me. But offer some donuts or some granola bars or some coffee or something like that, and find a group of people that really like to do like that potluck type of thing, and it will create an environment that I think the community is lost in our phones and sitting in our cars. And I enjoy that getting together, around the coffee, water fountain, whatever, and just chatting with people. If you have a place that people can do that, it's nice to put your phone down and talk to other people.
Right.
So find some hospitality people. That's my suggestion.
That's very important. And I think that outlining is so important for people to keep in mind, again, as competitors, is that that's how this all kind of started back in the day when nosework was very, very new,
Yeah.
is that this was a very community group-based type of thing. And people look forward to trials, not just to trial, but because they got to go to these little community gatherings.
Yep.
So instead of just being like, okay, well, my check-in time I only signed up for a certain time lot, I come in for my time slot, I do my searches and I leave. I mean, yes, I guess I could be very efficient, but remember, we're all there for the same reason. So if you
Yeah.
can kind of tap into that, and for the hosts, if you can also offer that type of thing that you're talking about, it just changes the whole dynamic where it's not just about the titles and the ribbons. It's about celebrating this wonderful thing we can do with our dogs. You have all these other people who like the same thing that you do. What a amazing thing.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that just reminded me, there's a lot of clubs out there that offer the grab your own ribbon. I, Why? Why?
Right.
It does not take a whole lot for you to give the timer or the gate steward a stack of qualifying ribbons. And if they qualify, then you know what? Oh my God, here's your ribbon. Oh, I'm so proud of you. You know, I mean, come on, guys. Like,
Yeah.
everybody deserves a little bit of a yay. And don't just make the judges do it. You know, just give the stewards the ribbons. And you would be surprised how excited the stewards, especially people that have never been to scent work or they're brand new to scent work, and they get to watch the searches and then they see these people celebrating and they get to hand out the ribbon. Oh my God, they're so excited. Give them the ribbons. Just give them the ribbons. Don't make people grab their own ribbons, please. Just,
Yes.
that's my pet peeve. But you know, we do have a separate ribbon table and we try and man that. So that's another volunteer that you need to get is somebody that helps people get ribbons, because that's something else that I notice is a little bit confusing, where new people to the sport don't understand 3 Qs equals a title. And, you know, just in novice, there's 10 different titles you can get in just novice without handler discrimination. So, you know, helping people get those tabs, the correct ribbon, you know, just that extra personable congratulations. We're so glad that it happened here at our club. That's important. You know, it's the personable things that you can do to make people feel like they're seen, they're wanted, they're heard, all of those things. So hospitality and ribbons.
Do you also do things as far as raffles or NQ
Yes.
awards or anything like that?
Yes, I do. We started an NQ raffle 2 or 3 years ago, and we did. One of my friends, he's like, "It's the loser bracket," and I said, "No, no, it's not the loser bracket." You know, sometimes, especially when you get up into the master detective level, I mean, shit, you could drop $200, $300 in entry fees in a weekend, and your dog is just having a bad weekend. You know what? If I can win a raffle for a bottle of wine,
Right.
okay, let's do it. So we do have some NQ raffles. I had a really great trial member that took that on. I was able to delegate that task. She did a really fun job with it. She would put together these beautiful baskets, and you know, we make the dollar amount of the NQ raffle what an entry would be. So if your entries are $25, then the value of the raffle basket is $25, and you can fill it with. We like to do like a dog theme something, you know, where it's like dog treats and dog toys and that kind of stuff. And then we do a human thing something where it's a book about scent work or a bottle of wine or fudge or chocolate or something of that nature. So dog theme, human theme, you can pick which one to put it in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the other thing that we have found that once a year, and this is something that I think is missed by a lot of AKC clubs out there, is the community outreach. And I feel like Scent Work Nosework has a special bond that we can have in the community for our canine handlers out there, police, TSA, detection handlers. And we can really tap into that by being, you know, fairy godmother to those folks. And so once a year we do a huge raffle and we ask for donations. And we get so many donations of raffle baskets. We have a photographer that donates photography sittings, portrait session for you and your dog. We have a judge that I hire frequently, Lori Schlossnagel. She'll make some leashes for me, some long lines for me, and donate those. I have a really good friend up in the Phoenix area that works for food distribution, dog food distribution. So she'll see if she can get me some, goodies to put into, raffle baskets. And the person that organizes this, she does an amazing job of, like really advertising it, really getting it out there and making it a fun event. She starts posting about 2 or 3 weeks before the trial. She'll start taking pictures of the raffle baskets to kind of garner interest and get people excited. And we will, I think we usually end up making a donation of about $1,200 to $1,500 each year.
That's awesome.
And we'll just adopt one of the canine units. We've done Pima County Canine, the jail. We've done Oro Valley Police Department. So it's just something that I think, we owe it to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where it all began, right?
Exactly. No, I think that's an incredible thing of just kind of full circle of being able to give back to what inspired this thing in the first place. And again, it's building in that whole sense of community that we're all in this the same and that we owe a lot to the professional field. We're just playing a game. Those people are doing the actual serious stuff. So if we can get back a little bit, that's actually really, really important. So was there anything else about as far as running a trial that you wanted to have everyone really know about that they may not have any idea is actually something that you have to contend with when you're trying to do that?
For me, I have to remind myself that just because it's the 50th time I've answered that question, it may be the first time that person is asking it. So that's something that I need to, make sure that I'm aware of. And your volunteers will get the same question over and over. That just happens. And you'd have to be patient with people. They're just excited. They're one of the things that I make sure at the beginning of the day, if you're going to have a general briefing, which I think you really should, especially if you have novice people on campus, make them raise their hand, ask them who's brand new to this, who's here for their very first trial, and buddy them up with somebody. Like put them on the spot. Be like, all right, who's in master? Aren't you? They're your buddy. But they're nervous. I mean, I think some of us that have been competing for many years in multiple different sports, we forget what it was like to show up to, your first trial with a leash, a treat, and, hope.
Hope.
So, buddy systems, I think, are really good. Have a good general briefing. And a lot of times I have it all in my head and I forget something. And then 20 minutes after I've dismissed everybody, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to mention this. So write it down, write all the things that you want to say about, where you can potty your dogs, what's going to be run first, what's going to be happening for lunch. A lot of people are very concerned about when the judges are going to take lunch. I don't know. That seems to be a huge concern for people when they want to, when it works for them. Sometimes for me as a judge, me personally, if I only have one class to finish, if I just have to finish novice and advanced containers, and then all the containers are done for the whole day, I'm probably going to push through that. Even if it means that I'm not eating lunch at noon when they had it planned, I'm probably going to push through those 2 classes, especially if I only have, 15 to 20 dogs to judge, because I can get that done in an hour and a half. And then it's like people are done. They could go home. The trial secretary can do her job. Why break for lunch? But that's me personally. But you as the host need to make sure that, if your judge does need a break, that you're scheduling that in and you're providing that. And then also communicating that to your competitors, because competitors, they get mad. They're like, that judge's not working. Well, they're a human and they do like to go to the bathroom. And 9 times out of 10, the judges that I hire have their own dogs that they bring to the trial. And I'm like, well, my dog would be holding his bladder that long. I don't think so. So just have a little bit of grace with the judges that, sometimes they need to eat, breathe, pee, and walk their own dogs. And then one of the things that I find more and more, and Barbara and I kind of talk about this a lot. I think that having a phone in front of us all the time, it's created a situation where we think all information should be immediate. And
Mm-hmm.
we sent out that premium or that judging program a couple months ago, and you didn't read it, or you think that, well, Google will answer it for me. And if the Google does it, then the trial chairperson will. No,
Right.
please come prepared, read your premium, but read the rules. Honestly, it is kind of scary when you have a competitor walk up to your start line. They say, "Oh, I just moved up to advanced buried. It's water."
Right.
Yep, it's water. So you could do a lot by being a competitor and understanding your rules, understanding how many hides are in different searches, what you need to be. The handler discrimination, weird rules. Weird rules. Like, you got to have your cotton ball or glove in a plastic baggie.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot be here. So like all of these things, like, it just makes it so much easier if you are knowledgeable about what you're getting into. I think it makes it so much easier if you understand, and we don't have to chase you down to say, no, you can't potty your dog there, or no, you can't walk that direction, or
Right.
no, I don't want you out of your cars. Please keep your dogs separated. I did have a dog on dog aggression once at a trial. It was
Ugh.
not fun. And the amount of paperwork that you have to fill out is not fun.
Yeah.
So my club, because of that, AKC was like, okay, so action plan. How are you going to prevent this in the future? And my club is one of the only clubs that I have ever been to, not only Arizona, but my club I've ever been to, where we run in running order, period. What is published, that is the running order. If there's a conflict because you need to be running detective and you have a dog in novice and you need to run detective, that's one thing. But in all honesty, it's my action plan with the AKC to prevent dog on dog aggression.
Right.
So don't get mad at me when I tell you that we're running in running order.
Mm-hmm.
There is a reason for that. And please respect that. And please understand that I'm doing it so that I'm not doing it to punish you. I'm not doing it to punish the person that turned in their entries late. And, oh God, I couldn't enter this trial because I didn't know if I was going to be available and I entered late. So now I'm at the bottom of the running order. Well, I'm sorry. It's the nature of the beast. It is how it goes. But we run in running order for a reason, and we do it at my club to prevent another situation that did happen in the
Right.
past.
I think
And yeah.
that's a really important thing people keep in mind. Again, we are running with dogs. This is an activity that is open to reactive dogs. Key thing is reactive, not aggressive.
Yeah.
But they are playing for something that is very high value for them. And they can absolutely get into a situation, particularly if we're getting too close, or if the dog is really high up as they're coming out of a search area, dog is really high up as they're trying to go into a search. There's all kinds of ways this can go left. So the things that you're talking about is there are tangible things that can happen as far as a host to make sure everyone's staying safe. But those of us who are competitors, we have to do that as well. That we are being very good advocates for our dogs. We're being good advocates for each other's dogs, and that we are keeping everyone safe at the same time. That, again, every single dog has the opportunity to bite. They have the ability to do so. Rather, we want to make sure they don't have the opportunity to do it,
Yes.
but they absolutely can. Like, you can have a tiny little dog, you have a giant dog. They all have very powerful jaws with very big, powerful teeth, and that can go badly very, very quickly. So I commend you for doing things with your club to make sure that everyone can stay safe. All of us who are running dogs, we all need to do our part to make sure they can stay safe as well. And when a club is making those kinds of decisions, just honor that. And quite honestly, as far as the running order is concerned, take that as a training opportunity. When you're working with your classes, when you're working with your instructor, when you're practicing with your friends, change up when it is that you and your dog are running, because that's part of the test. Can you and your dog wait all day long, and can you still perform? That is part of the test. So for those kinds of things, instead of us getting our backs and be like, oh, so frustrating, instead take it as a challenge. Like, okay, this is a way for you to improve your training.
And be flexible. Be flexible, because sometimes, I could be calling you out of your, your crating area, and then and the dog ahead of you peed. and now you're on a 10-minute wait.
Right.
That kind of stuff happens. So flexibility, and then if I have all of a sudden, something goes awry with a search over there, and I need to pause that search, or now this search is going a little bit faster for whatever reason, I may pull people out of this line to go over to that other one, because that line is looking a little bit low, or that judge is going a little bit
Hmm.
faster, or that search is only set for a 2-minute time limit versus your 5-minute time limit.
Hmm.
I don't, be flexible. If I'm like, hey, can you get your dog? If you can't, then just say you can't. Or I just
Right.
got back done from running my other dog, I need a break, I have to go to the bathroom, I can't call the next
Sure.
person in line. Not a big deal. I think the other thing that I usually like to make sure that people understand is, I am not here to make it hard on you or your dog. If you need a break, if you're busy running 2 dogs at the same trial in 3 different levels, then take a break. If you are not ready to go right now, I'll find somebody else that is. It's not a big deal. You need to make sure that you're honoring your dog and your time, and rushing to the start line is not honoring that moment. And it's just not gonna go well. It's just
Absolutely.
not.
And I think that's a really important thing for people to keep in mind, is that I'm hoping that they're able to grasp the amount of work and effort that is going into these events. You wouldn't be hosting 35 trials up until this point if there wasn't the desire to have it be a positive experience. If it was
Yeah.
just simply I'm doing this just because, then you wouldn't be going through all of that effort. So, and you as well as other clubs, you want to make certain these are positive experiences, but it's just like where it's teamwork as far as all the trial staff, the judges, and the hosts and the volunteers. It's also kind of a teamwork with the competitors, that we want to ensure that you guys are having a good experience. So all the things that you're mentioning are excellent, as far as like, communicate with me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not your enemy. I am here. I'm team competitor. Come up
Yeah.
and talk to me and let me know what's
Yeah.
going on so we can help you guys out.
Oh, and no dogs at the briefings.
Yes. They don't need to be there.
Yeah, no,
So
no.
I did have another
Yeah,
question for you. Um,
sure.
as a trial chairperson, what are some of the most memorable things that you've had happen as a trial chairperson when you're running these trials?
Um, I think all of them can probably be up at Mount Lemon. There's no cell phone service, there's no Wi-Fi service. And having people walk up to me and tell me that they are so happy that they got to disconnect and be in nature and have fresh air on their face, and just reconnect without having a screen in front of them, was valuable to them. And that it was an experience. The whole weekend was an experience that they really enjoyed. um the most fun, the most like tear jerking, oh my god, I can't believe this happened moment, was D Falk, a judge that I just love her. She's out of New Mexico. She is fabulous, and she was like, I think I'm going to come to your trial in Mount Lemon because Carolyn is judging. And I said, yeah, Carolyn's judging. And she says she's judging detective. And I got my first cue under her, and I want to get my 10th. And I was like, oh God, you
Oh,
can't tell Carolyn. You cannot tell Carolyn that it's your title run. And she's like, don't you dare. And I'm like, okay, we won't. So we both went into this knowing that it was her, her possible 10th cue. And when she came out of that search and we were screaming, and Carolyn's like, well, you got a cue. What the hell is wrong with you? And we're like, that's her title. And then all 3 of us are screaming, cackling, and jumping up and down and crying
oh,
about this big huge detective ribbon and the whole bit. So it's those moments, those really special moments that you work for. I just love it. I love having somebody walk up to me in the parking lot. I'm running around like a chick with my head cut off, and somebody walks up and they go, my dog got the cue, my dog got the cue. And I'm like, yay. I'm like, remind me which one is your dog?
right.
Because I see so many dogs. But, there's a lot of people that they really are appreciative, really appreciative. And those are the people that I do this for. I do this for you, so you can play with your dog and have the best time. The dogs didn't choose to be doing this.
Right.
It's not their choice to be there. It was our choice to drive up the mountain or, drive to Tucson for a 2-day trial and stay in a hotel. The dogs didn't choose it. They just want to have fun with us. But
Mm-hmm.
celebrate your dog. You, as the handler, celebrate your dog, and I will help celebrate you.
That's awesome. And this is exactly the kind of thing that we absolutely should be cultivating with clubs. Is again, it's not just simply a business type of conveyor belt, competitor in, competitor out, and off you go. Let it be this kind of celebration. Again, that's what we're all there for.
Yep.
So as we're starting to wrap up, what are some of the ways that we as competitors can make your life better or can make trials better? So what are some of the
We
things that
already
we can
covered a
do?
lot of that. Read your rules. Please read your rules. Read the premiums. Patience and understanding that we are trying our damnedest. I like to remind everybody that if I have 3 judges judging, it's a 3-ring circus. If I have 5 judges judging, it's a 5-ring circus. And all of that is going all at the same time, in addition to my volunteers at hospitality, my volunteers at check-in, because we're running novice right now. My volunteers at check-in are checking in the advanced folks. Then they're going to be checking in the excellent folks, and then the detective folks. So it is something that not just the search areas are happening. There's other stuff outside of that. I have score runners that are running all the score sheets from the search areas to the secretary. I have the secretary staying in communication with the judges if there's somebody that was absent. Oh, that's a huge thing. If you're not going to be there, or you leave early because you're having a bad day, I get it. I totally get it. You're having a bad day. Your dog's having a bad day. It's not right. You're not in the right headspace to run your dog for the afternoon searches. I totally get that. Trust me. I've left a trial too. It's okay. But let somebody know that you did. Because I have spent 30 minutes looking for somebody. 30 minutes, I'm holding the search area up.
Right.
Looking for somebody. Because I promise you, if you checked in, I know you're there. I know you're there to run. And I want you to run. So if you checked in the morning, I don't want to miss you. If you're having a cry fest in the bathroom, or, your dog had to be cleaned up because they had a little diarrhea, whatever it is, I don't care. I just need to know that you're late. But if you go home and you don't tell anybody, I'm walking around the whole trial site looking for you. That's not fair to the judge. It's not fair to the classes after you. It's not fair to me and my 16,000 steps every trial day. So just let somebody know if you leave. And if you have the chance, if you know that you're not going to make it to the trial, like your car didn't start, or, I always publish my phone number all over the premium, all over the judging program. You can get a hold of me. I am very responsive by telephone. If you know that you're not going to make it to a trial, just shoot the secretary or the trial chairperson a text message saying, hey, can't make it today, take my name off the list, because we forget sometimes, and we put that name into the packet that the judges get. And I'll be judging and I'll think I'm done. I'm like, oh no, I'm missing dog 107. And then we start the whole search all over the did they check in, are they here, were they in the bathroom? Just, if you can't be there, just let somebody know.
Perfect. No, I think that's an amazing thing for people to keep in mind. Make sure you communicate.
Yes.
And a final
yes,
thing, because we've been taking up so much, you've been giving us so much information, is what's your favorite part about being a part of the sniffing community?
I love the sport because I'm a scientist, and I love watching my dogs learn how to play this game. And I love watching the dog behavior. Hosting a trial fills me up, not only just because I get to run my dogs, and that brings me joy, but seeing other people's joy fills my cup. It brings me joy, and I want it to go well. I want it to go well for you. I want it to go well for everybody. I don't want it to go badly or poorly. And I it does sometimes. It does. But being able to have a party, it's like hosting a party. It's like hosting a really big, Thanksgiving dinner. That's the way I look at it. It's just fun.
Well, I want to thank you for everything that you've been doing for the sniffing community. Again, taking on this giant endeavor and saying, I want to have trials near me. I know I'll start a club.
There you
And
go.
then
Yep.
hosting all these events is amazing. So, as we're starting to wrap up, is there anything else you wanted to let people know about the club, about any events that you have coming up, or any plans maybe you have for 2026?
Um, yes, I have a brand new venue that we'll be using for our January trials. January 10th and 11th, I think. I can't remember. But I will have three fantastic judges. January 10th and 11th in Tucson, Arizona. I have a brand new location, huge, massively huge school on a huge campus with very interesting exteriors. They have goats. It's kind of like a little mini farm, and it's we will not have to reuse a single room the whole trial. So it will be
Wow.
very nice. Yeah. March is still up in the air, and then the summer plans are still up in the air. But my club, I really want them to, I want to say a really big thank you to my club, all my members. They work so hard. All of my volunteers, they work so hard. And I could not do this without you guys. So remember to thank your volunteers and love on them and bring them opportunities so they can trial in their own backyard, and seminars and stuff like that too.
Perfect. Well, this was such a delight to talk with you. Thank you so very
Thank
much
you.
again for everything that you're giving back. You're offering all these opportunities and you're also keeping the perspective where it needs to be. So, gold star for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it when you hand out the gold stars.
So I want to thank everyone for joining us for this live stream today. If you do happen to have any follow-up questions for Jenny, you can always post those. Again, we'll be posting this up on the Scent Work University Facebook page, as well as our YouTube channel. So if you have any follow-up questions, or if you want to learn more about her club, or maybe you are a club and you're looking for a judge, maybe you should contact Miss Jenny.
There you go. Or
But
if you are a club and you need help with your judging program or figuring out what you can offer in a trial space, I've done it for other clubs. I am more than willing to help mentor other clubs. Absolutely.
that's amazing. And please make certain that you do take up this kind of offer to be able to work with someone who's gone through it. And as you can tell, Jenny's a pretty awesome person, pretty personable, pretty funny, pretty, really good with this information stuff. Make sure that you do indeed reach out.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you,
So
Diana, for inviting me. I had a blast having a conversation
thank
with
you so
you.
much for coming. I mean, anytime we can
Sure.
talk with people who are passionate about dogs and sniffing, we are happy to do so. But as my tiny terrier is telling me, we've been again over the time limit.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
no, it's totally fine. But make sure that you guys give cookies to your puppies for us. Make sure you have some sniffy fun. We will be scheduling some more live streams, so absolutely stay tuned. Thanks so much, everyone. Happy training. We look forward to seeing you soon.